Hi folks, and welcome back to Meaningful Money. Okay, still here inside nursing my newly fixed knee, so that's why I'm inside again, hoping to get outside again before too long. We talked last time about term assurance and the different types of term assurance, and so this time we need to sort of cover the alternative, which is whole of life assurance. Before we do that, let me thank my guys down here in the bottom right hand side of the screen. That's Seven Investment Management. They continue to sponsor me here on Meaningful Money, for which I'm extremely grateful. Now, whole of life assurance, as the name suggests, each policy lasts for the whole of your life, whole of life, as opposed to a term assurance which has a fixed term. And if you survive after the end of that term, nothing is paid out. Well, there is no end of the term in a whole of life policy. It ends when you die. So theoretically, at least, every single whole of life policy will pay out because everybody dies sometime, right? Now, that's not quite true because a reasonable proportion of policies will be cancelled and so, surrendered, so the life company won't have to pay out on those. There'll just be a surrender value or something, but they won't have to pay out the full death benefit. But because, theoretically at least, every whole of life policy has the possibility of paying out, they're expensive, okay? Two main types of whole of life assurance. The first one is guaranteed, where once you've done your medical underwriting and things like that, you are given a premium, an amount of money you have to pay for the insurance, and that is set for life. Now, depending on how old you are, how long this is going to be in force for and things like that, they're generally quite expensive policies. The alternative is an investment-backed whole of life assurance. And what happens there is that the insurance company takes, sort of splits your premium that you're paying in two, really. A chunk of it pays for the life assurance, and the rest is invested. No idea what the split is, doesn't really matter, but the rest is invested. The idea being is that if the returns on that investment are good enough, they will kind of subsidise the life assurance premium as you get older. Primarily, though, the money's invested probably for the life company's benefit rather than yours, but don't quote me on that. If you've got one of these investment-backed ones, they'll fall again, I'm afraid, into two types. And it's to do with the amount of cover that you've got. So a balanced cover whole of life policy, the sort of split between the amount of cover provided and the amount of investment and everything is set such that the idea being the premium will always stay the same. So they invest enough of the money and they sort of reduce the cover to a point such that the premium should stay the same for the rest of your life. Now compare that with maximum cover whole of life, where it's primarily about the life assurance and not a lot about the investment. The fact is, when these are reviewed, which is usually after the first 10 years and sometimes 10 yearly, but more usually 5 yearly after that, the premiums will skyrocket. You can expect at least probably a tripling of the cover after 10 years, the tripling of the premium rather. So a lot of detail here, but if you've got an investment-backed whole of life, you've either got balanced cover, where it's intended that the premium will stay the same throughout life, but the amount of life cover will be less, or you've got maximum cover, where the amount of life cover will be higher, but if you want to keep that cover long term, you can expect your premiums to go up a great deal throughout the life of the policy. The problem I have with these is that life assurance is a really expensive way to invest and a very inefficient way to invest. I prefer to keep life assurance separate from investing. Just to compare, a 25-year level term assurance policy with £250,000 payout will cost me, a 37-year-old, even a slightly chunky 37-year-old, will cost me 19 quid a month, that's all. 25-year policy, 250 grand cover. Whereas a whole of life policy with 250 grand cover will cost me £109 per month on a balance basis. So that's a difference of 90 quid a month. Well, what's happening with that? Well, a chunk of that is being invested, of course. No idea how much, but that £90 a month difference, if I instead took out the term assurance and invested that 90 quid a month, well, after 25 years, I'd have something like 54 grand at a 5% return. So, I prefer to have cheaper life assurance and put the difference aside in a savings plan that I can get at. I can see what's going on, rather than have that money invested by a rather opaque life assurance company. So keep your life cover and your savings separate. Get term assurance where it's cheap and cheerful, and then, you know, if you've got a bigger budget, then put some money aside and save for your own future and essentially self-insure. So that's whole of life cover. Generally speaking, it's a bad idea. There are some circumstances where it might be useful. Leave any questions and I'll do my best to answer them. So next time I'm going to talk about Financial Planning Week. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.